All right.
Welcome back to the Leela podcast. I am your host, Alexa Jo, or JoJo, which I believe. Which one am I to you?
I think Alexa Jo.
Okay, yeah.
Your Instagram
Maybe.
title.
Yeah. Anyway, I just have a lot of nicknames, so I never know who I am to who. But anyway, I am joined by my dear friend Kaylin today.
Hello.
Or should we say aloha?
Aloha.
We're on the Big Island. But thank you so much for joining me today. This is actually our second round.
Thank you for having me again.
Technical difficulties. And just thanks for taking the time. We are out on her beautiful lanai, and I'm just feeling so grateful to be here right now.
I'm feeling grateful to have you here. Thank you.
I'm going to have to take some videos because you have the most beautiful, girly little apartment that you've made. And it's a dreamland, and it has princess dresses, and it has a pink toaster, and flowers, and yellow, and pink, and everything. And I just think that every girl would want to live here.
Thank you so much. This was so much manifesting of like Amazon wish list of everything for 6 months before I bought anything. So like I coordinated like the floors, the walls, the bedspread. So It is a labor of love.
And I just really wanted to have you on the podcast because I think that you have done really incredible things, especially for your age. And you're such an inspiration to people because you have really grown into such an incredible confidence and done that in a few different ways. You have your own business. You do things down a creative route that other people would maybe be timid to do. And I think that you show people how to do it. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about growing up on the island. Mm-hmm. And you actually got into a few different things that I feel like they take boldness and courage, and one of them is pageants.
Yes. So I got into my first pageant here in Kona. It was called Miss Kona Coffee. Mm-hmm. And I never thought I could do it since I had like so much anxiety about like doing being on stage. And it was right after 2020. It was like 2021. And like my friend Ruthie, she was like, let's do this. Like, we'll have each other. Like, let's just like be brave and do this pageant. And I ended up like loving it so much that I did like 2 more. But I learned like so much out of that, and just like public speaking and how to present yourself and putting yourself out there, which was like terrifying. Mm-hmm. But I lost all 3. Like I got 1 award, but I think I walked away with a lot more than like the awards.
Yeah, and I feel like a common misconception about pageants is that it's just about looking pretty and wearing a nice dress and walking across the stage. And if you really know anything about them, that's really not the case. There's so much confidence building and knowledge. And what are some of the aspects of being in pageants that you wish people knew or thought about?
So I didn't realize how much like volunteer base it was, of just like, so the girls are trying to like get as much, like everyone is trying to volunteer. Like they made us start our own like social platform too. Mm-hmm. So we could pick anything and kind of start like we have to like present it to the judges. And so if we would win, like we would like continue that to the next step, which would be like Miss Hawai'i. And I had no clue that how smart these girls were, because it's like a scholarship competition as well. So everyone's trying to get more money for college. So like these are like smart, driven women that like are also beautiful too, which makes them like more intimidating. But there's just like so much more behind than looks than I thought in the beginning.
Yeah. And I feel like does it ever feel like competition between you guys, or more like support and making friendships?
I think some girls are like, I'm just in it for the competition, like, and the vibe they give off immediately is like that. So, but like 90% of the other girls were like, let's be best friends. We would like all hang out, and I'm still close friends with a lot of the girls I made friends with from then. So I was so surprised too of how much I clicked with everyone. Yeah. And I was just like really lucky to have such an amazing group of girls.
Yeah, and I just think that it's a really cool thing that you did, and to have this kind of presence of your parents already, and then, you know, when people are coming up to you and saying, oh, you're blah, blah, blah's daughter, you kind of go through a different type of thing where you have to figure out, well, who am I outside of that stuff and separate from this name that was already made for me.
Yes.
And that's a really good way to do it.
Thank you. Yeah, finding your identity is like so hard in life, but then kind of like put some like try to like more pressure on that through your parents. Yeah. And you're like, okay, I'm just gonna do my own thing now.
Yeah. And you have.
I have, yeah.
And I think, what came first? Photography, probably?
It did, yeah.
Yeah. And you have your own business, which is amazing. To have started your own business so young and to be so good. And
thank you.
Especially because a lot of your client base is tourists, right?
Mm-hmm, yes.
So that's harder to make a name for yourself too when your clients are fleeting.
Yes, it was definitely like I didn't even know how to market myself in the beginning because I was like, you know, like I want to do family photography and here's like my work, but like no one was booking me. Mm-hmm. So I started getting more and more tourists of just kind of like friends of family and that kind of stuff. And that's when they started posting my work on Big Island Facebook groups as well through like, oh, here's the photographer I used. And I would highly recommend her. And then from that, like, every person that I shot with recommended me to someone else. So then I got all these new people this year, which was like amazing. And it's my full-time job right now, which like being my own boss at 22, it's a struggle, but I get a lot of free time.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just so intimidating to start a business because you don't know, like, yes, you can learn photography and know that and the editing and everything, which is already a huge thing in itself to try and figure out, and to the extent that you feel comfortable providing it as a service and having people pay for that. But also there's so many other things behind starting a business.
Yes.
Like, the marketing and the legal side of things and what are your rates and all of that stuff. And how did you kind of navigate figuring all of that end out?
Yeah, so I kind of just like trial and errored my way through it. I'm glad that I did have help through my parents of like, oh, here's how to do like a business tax, like, and from that end, and then just like YouTube videos. I love just like learning from other people's experiences, and like also Facebook groups of like all these people are telling their like experiences as photographers and like their like fears and what they wish they did better. So just like absorbing all that information in and then trying it myself really worked out. Yeah. To a point. And I'm still making mistakes today, but I feel like it's a little more smoother now.
Well, of course. I mean, that's just part of learning and becoming better at something.
Yes.
But how did you even get into photography in the first place?
I was always like interested in like cameras. Like I remember Mom would tell me like even at like 7 or 8 years old, like I was like just picking up the family camera and like, shooting like the little kind of like fairy sculptures all over my backyard, which then progressed to my best friend and I would just have like photo shoots in the backyard of just like trying on like these crazy outfits.
Classic girlhood.
Yes.
We all can relate to that. We all have the
photo shoots. So
on the pink digital camera.
Yep. You have one of those? I have no clue where those photos are, and thank God. Like,
those can get lost in the archives.
Like, okay. But then after like 2020, I was like, I think I want to I was shooting my friends still. I was shooting models like coming to the island, and I wasn't charging anything because there was just more creative shoots. But and I had the skill. I did a family shoot, and they like paid me pretty well, and I was like, I think I want to like continue this. And that was kind of the beginning of me directing my focus toward like family photography.
Yeah, that's super cool. And you do some other creative things still that, I mean, it sounds like your business is mainly family photography, but you've done some really cool collaborations with other people on the island. Yes, yeah.
So I love doing like bridal collaborations as well. Like I would love to be a creative director someday in the future too, of creating these styled shoots. I've done it like at there was a salt farm I did where I brought like a bouncy house. We brought a whole picnic there.
Oh my gosh, fun!
It looked amazing, and I incorporated all these local vendors that just like showed up and had their like the best time ever.
So you organized that event?
I did, yeah.
That's amazing.
And I like no one really knew who I was, and like when everyone showed up, they're like, oh, you're 20.
Like, Oh, actually, I thought you were 40.
And I was like, yep. And my dad, my dad drove me there, and he like. So there's been a lot of moments like that where people don't exactly know how young I am, but the photos turned out amazing, and I've done like 3 or 4 of those kind of styled shoots, and that's definitely like creativity wise, like where I get my little like moments.
Yeah, and you definitely use your creative outlets, because one of the ways that you created a big platform for yourself actually was TikTok.
Yes.
You were like a influencer for a bit.
I call micro influencer.
But it was so funny when I met you, because I remember meeting you at an event, and then you're like, oh yeah, I do TikTok too, and yeah, actually I do have a little bit of a following, like
just like low key.
Like, was it 500K?
Yeah.
Like 500,000. So I look her up and I'm like, holy crap, this is actually, and they're really detailed, thoughtful, creative videos. And do you want to talk a little bit about your rise to TikTok fame?
So I started again in 2020. Like, this was like after like everything had been shut down for like a couple months. I obviously have like red hair, so I started making like funny red haired videos about like making deals with Satan and like people stealing people's souls. And
you know what? Use what you have to your advantage. If people are gonna say that shit, then you might as well get some money out of it.
Like, there's like that, like wise tale of like or just like a myth of every freckle you have is a person you've killed. So I did some funny videos with that.
And if you're just on audio, Kaylin is covered in freckles.
Millions. I know that some like influencers have managers, but like I just did everything myself. And yeah, it was a little bit like stressful, like handling everything of like all the comments and like these like emails and like producing and having all of this editing work as well. So by the time like 2022 happened, I was like so burnt out, and that's why I like stopped it all. I was like,
was it like dead stop?
It was like I just stopped posting less consistently, and then the TikTok algorithm like punished me for stop posting. So they're like, you're not getting any views now.
It will punish you no matter what.
Yes.
The TikTok algorithm hurts, and it'll make one go viral, and then you're riding an all-time high. You're thinking, I'm a star.
Yes.
And then you post another one, and it's 12 views.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my gosh.
What about all this traction I got from the last video?
I know. It's like I feel like I got a little too involved in the views and the followers.
That's exhausting.
Because it's
when it becomes your income.
Yes.
You have to worry about that stuff, and it can take the joy out of the creation and the creativity, especially when you're pumping out this big creative stuff every single day. But I completely understand your decision to step down from it, and also life started opening back up again.
It did.
The island opened up again, and being a photographer, well, people are going to start coming to the island again. And so the business that you created and started kind of, I can see why that would become your center focus over TikTok.
Yeah. And I feel like we're all young. Like that's what like I think that is just, just figuring out what you want to do in the moment.
Yeah.
Which, at this point I was like, I really want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And that's pretty kick-ass.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But I do love that you will do something and then be like, oh, yeah, I did that. I'm not going to do it anymore, but I did it, and I'm glad I did it, because you kind of said the same thing about pageants, yeah?
Yeah, of where I'm like, I learned my lessons. I made the friends. I bought the pretty dresses, and now I'm good.
But I love that, because I think it's not quitting. It's just knowing when you got out of it what you wanted to, and you're moving on. And that can be hard for people, including myself, to be like, but does that mean that I'm quitting? Is that bad? Or, why don't I like it as much as I used to? And it is courageous to walk away from that stuff still.
Yeah. I think it's just like seasons of life, which we're all just going through.